Happy 2023, where you might be making a New Year's resolution. In fact, you may be making a New Year's resolution to do with your career. Well, I want you to watch this video because I want to talk to you about the secret I learned for myself and how to actually achieve your career resolution. So stay tuned. Hello, I am Sarah Curto, and I am your career coach, helping you find meaning, balance, more money, doing work you love. I am so excited for all of the things we are going to create in 2023, including all of the Mondays that we're going to stop dreading, that we're going to start being so excited for, because I am going to help you put what you want at the center of everything you do when it comes to your work. And I'm going to do that by still releasing weekly training videos here on YouTube. Now, these training videos are generally things that I have learned over my 5 years of coaching, my 15 years of recruitment, the tips, the tricks, the tools of the trade, so that you can find long-lasting career fulfillment and happiness doing work you love. I don't want you to miss one. So hit subscribe and the notification bell, which I'm going to be honest, I've never hit before. So I don't even know how that works really, but I subscribe to a lot of different ones. So subscribe so you don't miss them. Okay. If you've watched these before, if you have any familiarity with my story, you may have heard this before. If you're new to my world, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. But I was stuck for 15 years. And what that meant was that for 15 years, I had the same New Year's resolution to find my way to career happiness. And for 15 years, I never found my way. I failed at my resolution like 80% of people do, or more than that. But there was always a reason, an excuse, a justification that I would tell myself that would make it seem okay to let those dreams slip away. Looking back now, I know what the problem really was. And that was, I had no idea what my dream career even looked like. All I knew was that it wasn't recruitment. We do this very often where we know what it isn't, but it's very difficult to pinpoint what it is. And it is very overwhelming to make such a broad and generalized resolution. Like, I'm just going to find career happiness. I'm going to find a career I like. When we do that, it's kind of easy to give up because, like, how do we even do that? This is the problem with resolutions, is they are generally broad, life-changing statements that seem very easable and attainable at the time, because of course they don't require anything of us. It's just a broad statement, but give us a month and 80% of us have quit. So by February, 80% of people have given up on their resolution. And usually it's because we're nowhere near that perfect life that we had envisioned for ourselves. And we are struggling because it all seems like too much to get there. We don't know how to get there. We don't know what the steps are, or we feel like we need to know all of the steps. Or taking that first step was harder, or you didn't maybe even do it. So we give up and we hop back on that hamster wheel until the next year when we make those broad, generalized resolutions again. For me, I had tried everything. I chose a word for my year. I used SMART goals. I created project plans. I love creating those, but nothing seemed to work. Then one year, something clicked, and it had actually nothing to do with my career. I made a resolution to start making bread for our family. That was it. It was pretty simple. It was clear and specific. I knew exactly how I was going to do it. I was using the 5-minute no knead method. And it was one thing. Like, that was the important thing. It was one thing and one thing only. And I was successful. I believe that year was 2015. So we are 8 years later, and I still make our bread. And I still use the 5-minute no knead recipe. Sometimes I'll mix it up, but pretty much most weeks, that is the recipe that I'm using. So it was highly successful. The next year, in 2016, my resolution was to write a book. Not something perfect, not something that I would even want to go anywhere, just to finally put one of the stories that I was constantly writing in my head on paper. One goal, simple, clear, specific, but also free of my overachieving tendencies. That was one of the things I learned from my bread baking experiment that worked so well, was that I was not going to become like an expert baker. It was not something I was going to even try to do. I was just going to find something that worked, and I was just going to do that. And then I was just going to do that. I have never, you see those artists who do all the great scoring and stuff. I still am not, 7 years later, 8 years later, I'm not that baker, because once I relieved myself of those overachieving tendencies, the pressure was off of me. And I was successful with that, writing a book, because I just wrote one chapter after another, taking it one step at a time. And by March of that year, I had written a teenage love story that I love. My characters, Sam and Mac, I miss them sometimes. Actually, they become such a part of you. It sounds weird unless you know it. But that really unlocked something on me. This was 2 years in a row of me making a resolution that I accomplished. I knew I was on to something. So I decided the third year, 2017, to try applying that simple, clear, specific process to my career. Now, I looked at the main problem. I knew what I didn't want, but I had no clue on what I did want. I couldn't find a new career when I didn't even know what that new career looked like. So my resolution was to figure out what I wanted to be when I grew up. That was it. Now, this may still seem broad and generalized, but it wasn't about changing my life. It was just the discovery piece, the learning piece. And my goal was to spend a year figuring out what career happiness and fulfillment looked like for me, and to see if there was a job that existed that would lead me there. I took off that overachieving tendency of having to be in it by the end of the year. I made it clear and simple and somewhat specific enough. Like, it was specific where I knew by the end of 2017 that I at least had an idea of what I wanted my career to be. But I also gave myself latitude to go with the flow with the process, because that was one of the things that had kept me stuck for so long, was none of the processes were working for me. So that's what I did. And I was successful. I ended up creating my own process, not having a process defined that I was going to follow. That project plan that I used to try and fill out allowed me to be like, wait a second, why don't I just create my own? And I created my own 3-step process to picking a new career that I still use. I've used with 500 people. So I want you to watch that if this is something you need to do, because I figured it all out for me. And now, what is this? That was 2017, 2023. So 6 years later that I've made that, and I'm living my purpose. I'm waking up excited each and every day, and I'm happy with my new career. And if you want to know the timeline of what that looked like, here it is. I spent the first 5.5 months doing a lot of work on just getting a sense of what I would like, getting a sense of the impact I'd want to have, the people I'd want to work with. Would I want to be working one-on-one or not? Would it exist in the corporate world or not? Like just all of this. And it was in May of that year that I had my aha light bulb moment. And then in July, where I made the decision that this is what I was going to do. In September of that year, when I launched my career coaching business, like by the end of the year, I accomplished that goal. Not only had I figured out what I wanted to do when I grew up, I started it. I made it happen. That is what coming up with a clear, simple, and specific goal statement can do for your career resolution. So let me know in the comments below what your career resolution for this next year is. Let me help you accomplish it, and subscribe to this channel because that's what we're going to do this year. We're going to work together to make all of your career resolution dreams and goals happen. Looking forward to it. See you next week with another lesson. Take care.